Performances presented by Courtyard by Marriott the day after elections. Thanks for choosing us to be your guys here at noon Eastern on Wednesday, November 8th. Alongside Ian Eagle, I'm Jason Horowitz. And in case you haven't seen the show yet, this is basically how it goes. We break down the best performances from the past week. Sometimes we have 6. Today we have 8. A lot of good stuff. We'll also bring in all kinds of guests. And Ian, I know you're calling football for CBS. You're traveling the country. You do all those type of things. You call Dolphins games every now and then. If you get a power performance next year from the Dolphins, it's not going to be Ricky Williams. How about the fact he's deciding to stay in Canada?
No, I think Miami's going to have something to say about that. His contract may indicate that CFL may not be in the future of Ricky Williams. I actually am surprised you don't have any props today.
No props today.
You were really creating a nice niche as the prop sportscaster. I thought you were going to build on that a little more. And also, it is a sports show, and we're going to take a look at what we're covering here. But let's just take a moment. I think all of us can understand that Kevin Federline's going through some tough stuff right now. So,
you know what that means?
Just take a moment yourself.
You know what that means?
It's a little emotional.
You know what that means?
It means you got a shot.
No, I was going to say our floor director, Kevin, has a shot with Britney Spears. But we have a new floor director here. So.
All right, let's take a look at what's on the table here on the Power Performances, brought to you by Courtyard by Marriott, Pat Down, and the Denver Dash, Box and Run, the new incarnation of Jason Kidd, Boomer Esiason. The man would go to an opening of a letter, but he's joining us here. He's the best.
He would go to the opening of a letter.
Well, my point being that Boomer is all over the place. He's a tremendous guest. He's going to join us a little bit later on here on the program.
Yes, he is. You know, Boomer could play some quarterback in his day. He probably could still play quarterback. So could our first performer. And you guys, folks, you know, you talk about a good pedigree. You want someone who you want a guy who can have a good pedigree in his background. Brian Brohm. 3 relatives all played at the University of Louisville. He's from Louisville. He was the #1 quarterback coming out of high school in 2003, and now he is leading the #3 Louisville Cardinals, and they had an enormous win last Thursday night against West Virginia. Brohm, 354 yards, a touchdown, but the key for this, he had 0 interceptions in a game that West Virginia maybe gave away, and we put the hex on them last Wednesday by Ian predicting Steve Slayton and his power prediction, and I said West Virginia would win the game. So it was the kiss of death saying that they would win the game because they had no shot once we predicted that. But Brian Brohm managed the game very well, and you want to talk about a guy who really is playing well at Louisville. He's 14-2 as a starter. How about this program, though? Everyone's saying that Louisville doesn't deserve to go to the national championship if they run the table. I have begged to differ. If Louisville runs the table, they're playing West Virginia, who was undefeated. Tomorrow they play Rutgers, who's undefeated. If they run the table, Louisville's in the national championship.
Brian Brohm literally was born to play quarterback at Louisville. His dad, Oscar, played there. His brother, Jeff, was a star there as well. His other brother, Kevin, was a wide receiver for the Cardinals. And at some point, they're going to have to construct a building, the Brohm building on the campus of Louisville, because the Brohms have meant that much to the program. And if not for a finger injury, we might be talking about Brian Brohm for the Heisman Trophy. That's how good a season he has been for Louisville this year.
Yes, he has. And, you know, we were talking about national championship hopes and hype if they go. You know, people talk about the schedule they play. You cannot blame Louisville, or its players for that matter, but Louisville in general, you can't blame the school for creating a patsy schedule, because when they made this schedule 4 or 5 years ago, Miami had just won a national title, and Kansas State was a powerhouse in the Big 12. They went to Kansas State this year. They won 24-6. They played Miami at home. They won 31-7. So people talking about the defense plays well when it needs to.
There are some viewers that believe you don't pay enough attention to the SEC. We've heard them. We've heard from them here on the phones. The SEC is going to get some attention here because JaMarcus Russell, I have met Dante Culpepper. I've sat down with him. Well, I was sitting, he was standing, and it made it very uncomfortable because he's a big man. This guy's bigger. It's scary how big he is, the quarterback from LSU. They knocked off Tennessee. Redemption for him in particular, because there are some rumblings that can he win the big game for the Tigers? Look, the guy's having a tremendous season. A 15-play, 80-yard drive to finish off that game. A come-from-behind victory. JaMarcus Russell, I think, making a name for himself, and curious to see what pro scouts are going to do with him and view him whether or not he's going to be performing on Sundays at that quarterback position.
He has the numbers at LSU, and JaMarcus Russell, one of the top 5 efficient quarterbacks in college football. The problem and the knock on JaMarcus Russell was that he could never win the big game. If you take this year and last year before Saturday's game against Tennessee, in the 5 previous against Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee, he had thrown 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and was completing just 55% of his passes. Now, he did have 3 interceptions on Saturday, but he had 3 touchdowns to back it up. Every time he made a mistake, he would lead LSU down the field and score a touchdown, and none bigger in his career than the one with 9 seconds left to win at Tennessee. And frankly, maybe even save Les Miles' job, because the heat that he had been receiving at LSU, and Les Miles as well, the quarterback and the coach, was way too much than it should have been.
Now 21-4 as a starter for LSU, and a huge win over the weekend. I'm very curious to see how you're going to handle this next one. Go ahead.
Well, something that Ian and I could never do.
Go ahead.
We couldn't even walk 20 miles. This man ran 26.2 in 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 58 seconds.
This man is who?
Marilson Gomes dos Santos of Brazil.
Very good.
First South. I minored in Spanish in college, and yes, I do know that they speak Portuguese in Brazil. But Marilson Gomes dos Santos, the first South American to win the New York City Marathon in the 37 years that it's been going on. But it's not just the fact that he won. He beat out 2 gold medalists. He beat out a world record holder. He beat out 2 past champions. He beat out, he beat out Lance Armstrong, who was the name of the thing. He wasn't going to win the event, but this guy, even the Kenyan who won the year before, I believe his name is Tergat. He said when Dos Santos pulled ahead, we didn't respect his ability to win the race. He won the race by 8 seconds. You better respect his running ability.
I respect his running ability. I parked about 2 blocks away. I was winded walking over here. It's sad. I need to probably do a little more cardio in my off time. But bottom line, Lance Armstrong got a lot of attention. He did finish under 3 hours. That was the goal. And then afterwards says, this was the toughest thing I've ever had to do. A man that won as many Tour de France's as he did. He's in ridiculous shape. He and Matthew McConaughey are photographed left and right, topless. That's a whole other story. Maybe we'll save that for next week. But bottom line is, Lance Armstrong comes out and says, this is as big a challenge as I've ever faced.
I believe they hang with Kevin Federline as well.
It's all coming together here on the show. We're going to move along now to boxing. The sweet science. Floyd Mayweather Jr., undefeated, considered by many the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. Well, over the weekend in Vegas, a dominant performance for Jr., unanimous decision over Carlos Baldemir. Now they're talking about a matchup with Oscar De La Hoya. Could be a retirement fight. Could be big money on the line. Here's the soap opera angle. Oscar De La Hoya's trainer, Floyd Mayweather Sr.
Very true.
Senior and Junior, not on speaking terms. You think there are going to be some pretty good angles to this one, if indeed they can put the money together and get this one promoted and ready for action out in Vegas?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, how about you? We talked about pedigree with Brian Brohm. Floyd Mayweather, his father was a fighter, and like you said, is the trainer for Oscar De La Hoya. His uncle won 2 titles. His other uncle was a fighter. But here's my problem with boxing. Floyd Mayweather is called the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. He's not. He doesn't even hold every belt in his own division. There are 5 titles in every division: super heavyweight, heavyweight, light heavyweight, welterweight, whatever. He's a welterweight fighter. He owns 2 titles in the welterweight. There are 2 other guys with names that I have no idea who they are who own titles in his own division. That's the problem with boxing. Nobody knows who any of these guys are. Yeah, you know Oscar De La Hoya and you know Floyd Mayweather, but can you name the heavyweight title, the heavyweight champion?
Klitschko.
Okay, can you name the other 4?
Well, I mean, it is an alphabet division.
Yeah.
We understand that. For those who are fans of boxing, they look through all of the political red tape and try to determine who the best fighters are. And if we're doing that, Floyd Mayweather Jr., who doesn't believe he gets enough credit, in fact, was criticized
and he really doesn't.
After the fight because he didn't knock out his opponent and actually ripped Larry Merchant from HBO following the fight. Look, at this point, he's looking for one more big payday. He knows Oscar De La Hoya brings that appeal with him. And I think if the powers that be can get it right, we could have a heck of a fight on our hands.
Yeah, I would say so. One more big payday. He made $8 million for that fight. And, you can't knock a guy who is undefeated. All right, folks. We've gone racing. We've gone boxing. We're going back to what Ian does best. NFL. And how about Javon Walker? Let's go back 15 months, Ian. When Javon Walker was holding out of Green Bay camp in 2005, and Brett Favre said, he needs to get in here. I don't care how much money he's holding out for. Well, Javon Walker, that first game that season, went out for the year with a knee injury. How lucky does Jake Plummer feel to have this guy in Denver? 39 catches on the season, now 5 touchdowns, averaging over 17 per. He had a 72-yard reverse for a touchdown run. He had 3 touchdowns against Pittsburgh. Unbelievable performance. And, Javon Walker is going to get his payday. Javon Walker he got it in the offseason, and he is proving that he's worth it right now.
Here's the key, though, Jason. This year, his base salary for the Denver Broncos, $1 million. He right now has to be one of the best bargains in the National Football League. Now, you just alluded to the fact that he will get his money. He has $10 million coming his way over 2 dates. There's no way that the Denver Broncos are not going to re-sign him.
Correct.
Basically, it's just a clause in the contract, and it's a phone call to his agent. Yep, Javon's still part of the team. He's getting his money. He deserves his money because it was hard not to feel badly for him after the ACL injury in the season opener, after Brett Favre basically came out, publicly humiliated him, demanding that he come back into training camp and stop all of these histrionics with his salary and with his contract. It worked out for Javon. For Green Bay, not so much.
No,
because
not
they
so
miss
much.
him.
And without Walker last year, Favre had a career high in interceptions.
Yep.
Walker, on the other hand, is helping Plummer manage football games and win football games, for that matter.
One undefeated team remains in the National Football League, the Chicago Bears. They're done. See ya. Indianapolis Colts, still alive. And the Colts putting a little pressure on the Miami Dolphins of yesteryear.
Oh, come on, it's too early to start
Nick
that.
Bonacani can't really light that cigar just yet. But if Indianapolis is going to be a Super Bowl champion, forget about the undefeated season. To me, that's irrelevant. And in fact, they're probably better off losing a game or two so they can focus on the big
early,
picture.
so they don't have to worry about the undefeated title.
If they are going to be a champion, it's going to have to be the defense getting to that respectable level. And last week against New England, marquee matchup, the biggest matchup of the week in the NFL, the defense did its job. Finally, Peyton Manning didn't have to do it all. And Manning was terrific. Yep. Marvin Harrison was terrific. But Tom Brady intercepted 4 times. Another turnover by New England. Bob Sanders, the safety, comes back. Cato June, 2 picks. The Colts defense finally gets a chance to feel good about themselves in a prime-time matchup against the New England Patriots.
You think Cato June knew what he was going to be doing in this game? The Colts linebacker, big fantasy player, big fantasy football player, has Tom Brady on his team and benched Tom Brady. Smart guy, put his own players on the field, has Harrison, has Rhodes, has all the Colts, whatever, has Tom Brady as his quarterback. He went quarterbackless because he knew.
Really?
He knew that he would, he didn't know he would have 2 interceptions, but he knew the defense would step up.
That's
he just
good
happened
stuff.
to have 2 picks. So it's good to see the Colts go 8-0. This week they welcome Buffalo. I don't think anybody would expect them not to get to 9-0. All right, folks, we're moving on, and we're moving on with a guy who, well, nobody expected anything from this season except maybe Sean Payton and the Saints. The 3rd to last draft pick in 2006, a man out of Hofstra. Marques Colston, 11 catches, 123 yards and a touchdown on the season, now 7 touchdowns. Reggie Bush was the first Saints pick this year. Marques Colston, the last Saints pick this year. There's no doubt right now who's the offensive rookie of the year, and it's Marques Colston from Hofstra. Now, the one thing about the Saints, though, because Sean Payton put to rest, people were saying earlier this week that Reggie Bush, it's kind of been a bust rookie season. Sean Payton put that to rest. He said he's having a great rookie season. Reggie Bush and Marques Colston combined have each in a game had at least 10 catches in one game. First pair of rookies in NFL history on the same team to do that. They have a great future in New Orleans.
I think there's an unwritten rule right now in the NFL that you must have a successful wide receiver from Hofstra in the league at all times. Wayne Corbett retires from the Jets. Marques Colston steps in. I got to be honest with you. When the Saints traded Dante Stallworth before the season started to Philadelphia, I, along with many NFL observers, said, what are they doing? Why would you trade away one of your weapons like that? it worked out because they knew they had something. Sean Payton knew he had something, and Marques Colston nearly became Mr. Irrelevant as the last player taken, but as you mentioned, missed it by a few spots. Great story for Colston and for the Saints, who continue to be the biggest surprise in the NFL. Okay, we'll wrap things up with our power performances brought to you by Courtyard by Marriott. NBA, 1 week of play in the books. The story of the season so far is the play of the New Orleans, Oklahoma City Hornets. And Chris Paul, their point guard, last year, burst onto the scene as the Rookie of the Year. First point guard to win that award since Damon Stoudemire. But in my mind, the biggest impact at point guard, rookie-wise, since Jason Kidd of Dallas Mavericks back in 1994-95. Paul is a natural leader. He says all the right things. He does all the right things. I had a chance to interview him yesterday and was blown away with just this one answer. I asked him, what's been the biggest difference, year one to year two? What's the pat answer usually? Well, it's more comfortable for me now.
Right.
I know what to expect from my teammates. You know what he answers? He says, there's more pressure on me now. There's more expected of me, and I put more pressure on myself because I expect to take that next step. Ding, ding, ding. Right answer, Chris.
For a guy that should be a senior in college, and no doubt he was made the right decision coming out after his sophomore year, he is very well polished, not only on the court, but if you talk to him or just listen to him speak, he knows everything to say. But let's just take a look at numbers. I like numbers, you like stories. Let's take a look at numbers. Okay, Chris Paul in his first year last year averaged 16 points a game, almost 8 assists, and about 5 rebounds a game. Compare this to Isaiah Thomas. In his first year, 17-7, so right around the same. Compare it to Bob Cousy, 15-5. Chris Paul had better numbers. Compare it to John Stockton. Well, you can't really compare. Maybe one of the best point guards of all time, but John Stockton didn't really play as much his rookie year. And compare it to Jason Kidd. He had better numbers than Jason Kidd. This may be one of the top, when it's all said and done, it's only his second year. But if he continues on this pace, we may be talking about one of the top 5 point guards of all time.
And bigger picture, Hornets are for real. This isn't just a nice story anymore. Whether they're in Oklahoma City or New Orleans, they're winning, and they're winning really decisively. Impressive start to the season for the New Orleans, Oklahoma City Hornets.
All right, folks, those are our 8 power performances so far this week. Get in on the horn. Tell us what you think. 646-CBS-1000 if you're watching live. Be sure to call us. If not, don't forget you can email us right here. Coming up after the break, Boomer Esiason, we're chatting NFL and, well, everything else that Boomer wants to talk about here on the Power Performances presented by Courtyard by Marriott.